Hi guys, welcome back to my vlog. This is vlog number 3, and rather than focus on the athlete like the previous 2 vlogs, this vlog will focus on myself as a coach in the rehabilitation and injury prevention field. I'll go on to discuss the different components of coaching that influence my coaching process, but will also critically evaluate my behaviour as a coach and how this could have been optimised for a greater learning outcome for the athlete. Before I go on to cover this in the main bulk of my vlog, I just want to provide some background on my philosophy as a sports therapist and how this influences my coaching strategy. Underpinning the components of my coaching process is a philosophy based around making athletes strong and robust for the demands of football, something which is strongly evidence-based. Alongside this is a movement control basis of which the intricacies of movement variability are encouraged through dynamic resisted movement with a view to challenge specialised habitual movement that the athlete is accustomed to as part of their sporting movement. Due to the complexities of movement, such a process is harder to objectively assess. Where this fits in an athlete's conditioning program is much more debated. Nevertheless, I feel the two provide me with a strong foundation for the development of a good coaching process. It has been widely debated as to whether there is a strong framework to effectively describe the coaching process with cyclical models such as that of Whiteley and Bullock, which are limited to their two-dimensional approach of a multifactorial relationship, something Cushion alludes to in his review on the coaching process. With this in mind, I've demonstrated multiple components that I feel influence my coaching process on a day-to-day basis. A process that is influenced by the athlete-coach relationship, psychosocial influences of the coach or athlete, the coaching environment itself, and what the goal of the coaching session requires. Additionally, this can be influenced by their interrelationships with further coaching constraints that the session may pose. However, the components listed on the screen are not exhaustive, and on reflection of my coaching session there are a variety of components that could be included, such as that of club culture and departmental culture and philosophy. So with the components in mind, we now focus on the coaching session itself. The session was a one-to-one session with a young professional football player who has recently returned to full training and competition after significant time out with hip and pubic related groin pain. The main aims of the session were to effectively prepare the athlete for training, but also to use pre-training as an opportunity to continue a prophylactic combined approach of total hip strength and movement dissociation to continue improvements in hip strength and movement control. The exercises chosen in the session have been developed from the work of Benno and Takla and colleagues, alongside an influence of Comerford and Mottram in their kinetic control and uncontrolled movement approach. How this information relates to the components of my coaching process can be seen in the following slide, where the components are now specific to the current coaching session. On reflection, there are components that both positively and negatively influence the session, but the area that I decided to focus on was the effectiveness of my verbal delivery to the athlete through different cues and feedback. I asked myself, did it lead to successful outcomes, and how could this be improved for future? So for a short time, I'm just going to let you observe the areas of my coaching in the following videos and then discuss after.
Okay, you've got the handles here. Okay, so we've got opposite arm, opposite leg. And you're just going to come up and squeeze it then. 5-second holds, times 6, and then we'll change sides and we'll go twice. Okay? So that'll be our first exercise.
Good. Way. Nice. Lift that shoulder through a little bit more so you get more oblique. Nice. Make sure just before we push enough arms with the heels. Quads, glutes. And on this also, on this left hip flexor here, we need to be feeling it quite centrally in that hip rather than on the outside. So this one is what you should come against the wall. Okay, you come against the wall. I want you to tilt the tailbone underneath you. Okay, so you flatten the back into the wall. Alright, feet are about 10 centimetres, heels about 10 centimetres away from the wall. Alright, and then you're just going to come and just do it, just drop down into a single squat. Okay, keeping that
tilt on. So keeping that pelvic tilt on, keeping that tailbone underneath you, activating your obliques, activating your glutes, just like you go up and down. We'll try just 10 of them initially, get the technique right. Yeah. So that can become free. Make sure you get
It's the basketball hoop at the top.
It's fine. Okay. And basically want you to use this glute and your obliques to maintain. Yeah, nice, good. You don't have to go too far down. Good. And then use that glute, squeeze up. Nice.
As you can see, I utilise quite a direct command style approach to my verbal delivery. Unfortunately, there were significant time constraints on the session, so in this instance I feel the command style was the most effective method towards achieving good outcomes in the session. However, in a different scenario and a different athlete, my style may have to adapt to accommodate. This could possibly change to something like the inclusion style, where the athlete can feel more autonomy over the process of the session. This would also give the athlete more ownership over their strength and movement control progress. Furthermore, it is quite obvious to hear that my verbal cueing and feedback to the athlete was very much internally focused. This slide represents some examples of my cueing strategy across the 3 different exercises. To my recollection, I did not verbalize any external cueing strategies. A study by Porter & Co. found that approximately 89% of coaches in their study sample used internal focused cues. It appears that I fall well within this bracket. However, the recent scientific evidence surrounding attentional focus suggests that external cueing and feedback provides a far better learning outcome for the athlete. I feel the outcomes of my session were successful, especially when considering the athlete was able to progress through the exercises. However, the learning outcomes of the session may have been short-lived. A couple of studies by Wolf and Co. identified short-term similarities of both internal and external cueing strategies, but once asked to recall information, the external cueing group achieved much greater outcomes. Therefore, this suggests that my internal focus of verbal information provided may not be retained by the athlete. So looking at things with bias towards external cueing of the attentional focus, I could have used cues such as lift through the spring and push the carriage away for the first exercise. For the second exercise, I could have used stay long and tall against the wall whilst pushing into the ground. And then for the third exercise, I could have used rotate into the band while staying tall against the wall. These appear and seem much more simple to communicate to the athlete. And additionally, visual aids such as tape, laser, or even biofeedback may have helped provide an external focus on exercises that have traditionally been internally cued. So, referring back to my previous questions on whether the session was successful and how could it have been improved, a successful outcome was achieved with various constraints affecting the session. However, the information provided to the athlete may have been retained better through an external focus of cues. However, it is worthwhile noting that most studies in favour of the external cueing strategy have been towards more explosive exercise. Furthermore, my verbal communication could have been less repetitive with the same information. Using the combination of repetitive and internal cueing could either have frustrated the athlete or result in the athlete relying on such cues. So going forward, a greater implementation of external cueing could be used to simplify information given to the athlete, but also aid in athlete buy-in. In summary, there are a multifactorial variety of components that influenced my coaching session. Initial perceptions were that a successful outcome was achieved through internal cueing strategies and a command style approach. However, this could have been improved through external cueing, which could have resulted in a better outcome on the athlete's retention of the session. So that brings me to the end of my vlog. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And if you're interested, on the screen now is a list of the references that I used throughout.